So as Nora said, I'm Joe Previtera, and I'm here to recruit you. I'm here to recruit you because today I'm officially announcing my candidacy for the presidency of Local 26. And I'd like to start by saying that I'm here because I love this union. I know that this union provides me with rights and opportunities that would not be possible without it. I also know that the wage I'm paid is only possible because of the union, because to compare what a union versus a non-union worker has, what a worker makes, it's not even close. And on another level, I know this union provides me with a tool to earn the respect that I deserve. And when this union is strong, I have the opportunity to stand and work with pride each and every day. And it's because I love this union that I'm running for president of Local 26. I know that under the current leadership, the love I have for this union and the appreciation does not match the reality of what this union has become. And this reality, this disconnect, became painfully clear for me this past November when I took my 2-year-old son to his pediatrician, a pediatrician I trust and profoundly respect. And the pediatrician recommended that my son see a specialist at Boston Children's Hospital. And unfortunately, despite living in close proximity to one of the best children's hospitals in the country, if not the world, I had to inform the pediatrician that due to a recent change with my health insurance, I was unable to bring my son to Boston Children's Hospital. At that very moment, when I could not provide my son with the medical care he deserved, I knew that under Brian Lang's leadership, this union has traveled down the wrong path. I wondered, who should be deciding the care my son receives? The union under Brian Lang's direction, or a trained, experienced medical professional? And I know that my frustrations with the changes with the health insurance are not mine alone. The inability to go to some of the best hospitals in the city has affected a lot of people. I've heard from coworkers whose children now need to find a new pediatrician after having one pediatrician for their children's entire lives. There are others who are panicked about going to the emergency room, even when the feeling of pain is very serious and extreme. And I could cite other examples, but the truth should be obvious that this is not what our health coverage should be. The question is, how did we get to this point? How did we get to the point where we cannot follow the advice of doctors we trust? How did we get to the point where we need to make decisions that are against the best interest of our children and ourselves? I'll tell you that we got to this point under the failed presidency of Brian Lang. Under Brian's direction, we signed a weak contract without a serious fight, without any citywide rallies or delegations. I remember during the previous contract negotiation, this wasn't the case. We had the large rally just down the street at the Arlington Street Church. I also remember the picket lines in front of the Sheraton with hundreds of workers that stretched from the mall entrance all the way to Boylston Street. This time we had nothing like that. How do we know what we can earn during a contract negotiation if we don't even fight? And then once the leadership approved the contract, they asked us to ratify without allowing us to have the contract in hand. From my perspective, ratifying a contract without seeing it is like showing up to vote without knowing which candidates are running. How can we make informed and knowledgeable decisions without having all the information ahead of time? For me, withholding important information is a major and repeated flaw of Brian's presidency. And I think we see this most clearly in the disastrous healthcare vote. And just to backtrack for a second, in February 2013, there was an article in the Boston Globe that talked about how Boston hotels had hit 5-year highs for room rates and occupancy. So we see the hotels are making more money in 2012 than they have for the past 5 years. And then 1 month later, in March of 2013, the Boston Globe runs another article that talks about how medical costs are on the rise, threatening to push residents' annual health care costs up faster than the state's overall rate of economic growth. So we see that hotels are making more money and that medical costs are going up. And how the health insurance works is, for each hour that we work, we get paid our wage. And then on top of that, the hotels contribute per hour directly into the health fund. And starting back in 2001, as you can see here, the hotels would contribute $2.38 for each hour that we'd work to the health fund. And as you can see, since then, it's continued to climb, which is important because healthcare costs are going up. We need something to match that. But yet with this contract, we signed a contract without anything guaranteed that the contribution from the hotels would increase above $7.20. And so then we have that healthcare vote. And we saw the leaflets, right, that were going around that said that we could keep money in our own pocket. And that's the position that the union was pushing. And so most people voted that way, about keeping money in your own pocket, right, when this type of information was going out there that was deceptive. But my question is, how can we keep money in our pocket, yet not get any further contribution from the hotels and expect to have the same health coverage? It's just not possible. And so we are left with the impossible choice between our wages and our health coverage, and that wasn't fair and it wasn't right, and that's not what the union should have done to us. To really ensure the success of our health care, at a minimum, we should have built into the contract these guaranteed increases like we've done since 2001. And the vote we took should not have been the only option presented to us. You know, I've read other studies detailing other effective solutions that could address our healthcare dilemma, but we weren't presented with other options. And even if one wanted to argue that eliminating our best hospitals in the city was the only possible solution, it's my position that we deserved to have all this information clearly spelled out in writing before we ratified the contract. We deserve to see that slick presentation that Brian gave to us before we voted on the contract, not after. We had the right to be informed and we weren't. As I see it, under Brian's leadership, we are not treated with respect. I cannot tell you the number of times at the Union Hall where I've been frustrated that there is no opportunity to share ideas and engage in genuine discussion. Oftentimes, it feels like we get there and the plan is already set, and our participation is merely a formality. I feel that our union doesn't have to be this way. We can actually have a union where our voices actually matter.